My name's Charlotte Gibson and welcome to Locked In Conversations. I'm pleased to be on Nakato today, and we are going to be talking about all things social well-being, what it means in practice, and hopefully by the end of this video you may be able to take a few tips and tricks about implementing a social well-being strategy for your business. But first of all, hi Yvonne, how are you doing?
Hi Charlotte, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks so much for joining. So, social well-being, it's something I'm hearing more and more about as a consultant, and really moving away sort of from the fluff, you know, that the perception may carry with it, to actually discussing what financial impact it can have on businesses if you don't quite get this right. So for those who may not have heard the term before in a business context, can you just advise the audience today, what does social well-being mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, social well-being refers to the context of which an employee feels a sense of belonging at work. So you could be really connected to a business, or you could feel really, really isolated, and it's trying to bridge the gap in between to make sure you feel really included in an organisation to bring your best self to work.
It's really interesting, isn't it? You know, how when you have someone who is truly engaged, aligns to your values, it's amazing just how much more productive and positive that they are within the workspace. What about someone's personal life then? How does that fit in to social well-being?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you could feel really connected to your business, mission, purpose, and values, but then in your home life, you could be feeling really isolated, and vice versa. And I think it's important for businesses to, I guess, try to support their employees in their work life and also give them tools in their personal life to try and bridge those gaps.
I read a study recently where they were saying that if you are isolated, it has as much impact on your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, which is just, you know, is terrifying. You know, if left unchecked, it can lead to type 2 diabetes, strokes, coronary issues. It's huge. It's absolutely huge in terms of someone's health. And, you know, we put so many policies, insurance products, engagement tools in place to protect someone's health and well-being, whether it's mental health or physical health, which is often the two things that are spoken about the most. But social well-being is something that isn't spoken about as much, but is equally as important. So we are scarily enough coming to the end of our first decade in the industry, which is slightly terrifying. But let's think back 10 years ago. What was the role of the workplace, and what was, although they wouldn't have called it that, what was the social aspect of business 10 years ago?
Yeah, of course. 10 years is flying past. I think, the beginning of our careers, I think it was like the annual Christmas party that would happen. It would be lunchtime drinks in the pub where a lot of the bigger deals were made. And if you weren't a part of that, you could definitely feel that you were excluded from what was going on, decisions made in the business. I think the world of work is changing from this hiring, firing, 9 to 5 kind of world, and is going more into an employee experience and what that looks like for employees.
It's interesting. The experience, I think, is a really fascinating point. You know, we're seeing it in the retail market as well. You know, the high street is really struggling, and in order to drive footfall into your business, you create a shopping experience. The same is exactly the same with work. If you're going to attract the best talent to your business, it must be true to your values. It must be true to whatever you're doing. But it is that experience that really drives people to work for you and to stay there. In terms of social well-being, you are absolutely spot on. There was a huge drinking, smoking culture, and in parts that still does exist. But we are very much seeing, particularly in the southeast, that it's really moving away from from that kind of experience. And businesses are now starting to think about diversity, inclusion, getting people to feel connected regardless of who you are, where you come from, or what your backstory is. And, you know, certainly from a consultant's perspective and from a commercial perspective, the more you can diversify your talent pool, the better ideas that come out, both for your business. It really is, it is a no-brainer, and it also makes all around a far more pleasant place to be. So let's just explore the present day. So you talked about the experience. Where does social well-being fit within that, and what types of things are you seeing that businesses are doing which may fit into a social well-being agenda, even if it may not be labelled as such at the moment?
Well, the things that I've been seeing are things like online exercise classes, so teams getting together. So exercise gives you endorphins, which is very relaxing, and also a de-stressor to then in turn allow you to relax in your personal life, to bring more productivity into the workforce. Other things I'm seeing are socials are still going on. No one's saying get rid of the socials, they're still really important, but they're not just having that culture around just, I don't know, having pub quiz drinks over Zoom, whatever it may be. It's having different things that are going on, so everybody feels, or people do feel, they can join in and be part of a team, an organisation.
You spot on. It's not about getting rid of the pub quizzes. It's not about getting rid of the alcohol, because for some people that's really fun. But it is about having a balance and a range of activities. But not just that. You know, it's for me, certainly from what I've seen, it's about having space if you, in terms of to practice religion, to maybe nurse, or maybe charitable causes. And you know, it's really proven that if you do give back to society, it really does help with your mental health and your mental well-being. It therefore helps people have better connections at work. So it's all very, very important. And from my perspective, the more you can get people to interact with each other, the more collaboration, the more new ideas that are going to come out. And it's inevitably only going to help enrich your business and make it future-proof. Well, this kind of brings me nicely onto the future. What does this future look like in terms of social well-being? And what role do we think technology will have to play in that?
Yeah, good question. The future, I think, was going back to the employee experience that we were talking about earlier. So I think people will start to shift and feel more of a community to maybe an industry, whether it be hospitality, retail, manufacturing, wherever it may be, and have multiple jobs depending on shift patterns, work patterns that work for them and their homes and families. For a business, I think continue to be agile as society is going to change, and bearing in mind it's not a one size fits all. Understanding that people may have different work patterns, and also trying to make sure that you are using technology for good, to continue keeping people connected. I think artificial intelligence is going to play a massive role in this as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to come down to tracking, predicting, and measuring that employee experience without assuming and going from the top down. Actually hearing from your people, okay, this is what we're feeling, this is what we're experiencing, and then being able to make strategic plans and goals from there.
And if you have sort of engagement surveys to try and see how you're doing and use that as one of your measurements, you could use artificial intelligence as a way to sort of predict people's behavioural patterns and intervene quicker than you would have been able to if you were gathering data and information as you may do today. I think I could talk about this topic all day and every day, because it's so interwoven in everything businesses are doing, without them even realising. for someone who may be watching, who wants to implement a social wellbeing strategy, or incorporate it within their health and wellbeing strategy, which may be ongoing, what one or two tips or takeaways would you recommend people to start thinking about for this?
I would always say, for me, data is king. Data definitely is king. I think looking at things like your benefits claims data, your churn rate, going back to engagement surveys, having those touch points with people, making sure that whatever you have in place, whatever policies, procedure structures, whether it may be, that it works for people and works for you, and being agile is going to be key.
Yeah. No, spot on. Whenever I'm talking with a client, the first thing I always recommend they do is look at the employee assistance program data, look at the private medical insurance data, look at claims on the income protection, look at absence patterns, looking at productivity rates, if you've got charge out and utilisation rates as an example, really looking at that and monitoring over time how it either improves or gets worse depending on what policies and procedures. And I think that's the other thing for people to think about. There are tools, engagement tools, survey tools, there are flex benefits platforms, there are socials, there are things, but it's important to document it and really have that thread, so you can then start to measure what's going on. Yvonne, thank you so much for this. I really hope that you've found today as useful and as interesting as I have. What's your final word to say on it?
Final words. I would say try to look at the population of your workforce that you have at the moment. I think social wellbeing, even though it's a really relatively new term, it's something that is slowly interweaving its way into all organisations. So looking at the data that you have, listening to your people and trying to make sure that, as we said, the policies and procedures that you have are what works best for you, and not be worried about changing things, because it's not always going to be right the first time. But having that, being agile, I think is going to be key to driving real success for a business and for your people.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. And I will speak to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte. Bye-bye.